So hi and welcome to the EBC Early Birds Club. I'm your host today, Yastil Palad. So just a little bit on the Early Birds Club before we begin. It was founded by Mohanji. The Early Birds Club aim is to create balanced, stable, and purposeful people in the world who live their lives based on positive values such as kindness, compassion, and unconditional love. Here at EBC, we aim to bring people together for the betterment, not just for themselves, but also for society. We hope to inspire people to wake up early and use the time to work on themselves to improve. Because the more you improve yourself, the more you can improve others. EBC, we have three different categories. We have EBC adults, teens, and kids who also wake up early, which is impressive. And it involves people from a wide variety of different backgrounds from all across the world who work together for a common goal to better themselves. So today we have a very special guest who is joining us. She's Europe's first walking coach. For 20 years, she has been facilitating personal growth programs and transforming people's lives by helping them to make more conscious decisions with her award-winning programs. She has helped and inspired countless people to live a purposeful life. So just a few of her credentials, which there are many, I assure you. She's a certified yoga instructor, a certified physical fitness specialist, and certified in mental power training. And there are many more, trust me. So for 10 years, she was a CEO of a publishing house in Munich and an international dental seminar organizer. So without further ado, I welcome you to the walking guru, Manuela Stoizer, if I'm pronouncing it correct. And welcome to EBC, and thank you for taking some time for out of your busy schedule for joining us today, and helping to inspire many more people, and talking a little bit about yourself. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. So just getting into like certain stuff. So obviously you've been involved in life coaching, right? So the first question and the obvious question is, what is life coaching?
Life coaching, there's a nice little metaphor, but unfortunately I don't know the word in English.
No, it's fine. Use whatever word you think is correct.
I'm gonna explain to you. You tell me. These animals with a big nose like this. What are they in the rivers?
It's referring to crocodiles.
What's it?
They're referring to crocodiles with a big snout coming out.
They have 4 legs and are very big and gray, and when they open their mouth, it's huge. Doesn't matter. It's an animal, a big animal that lives, a mammal that lives in the rivers.
Yeah.
And when those mamas help their babies swim, they just give them a soft push, not too much and not too little.
Oh, you're referring to hippos with the big mouth. Yes, yeah.
That's it. So they give them a soft hint, but then they let them go. So they can learn to swim by themselves. And that's a bit what life coaching is.
Yeah.
So instead of teaching, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Life coaching is more asking questions for the person to find their own solutions.
Okay, awesome.
Bettering your lifestyle, the way you do the things you do, especially attitude, anything that is limiting your own and others' well-being, communication, all this.
Yeah, and it's as you said, it's you're 100% right. People we often not aware of how capable we actually are and what we can actually achieve. And sometimes like people like you who help basically put the structure that some people need to flourish. So yeah, I think that sums it up very well. Your answer and the hippo was perfect. Yeah. So what brought you into life coaching? When was it that you decided that okay, I want to be a life coach?
I never thought I want to be a life coach. It just happened. I had been running my business and I had children. I was working on the weekends, organizing seminars on the weekends, working during the week from early in the morning until like 6-7 o'clock, and just getting home to bring the kids to bed. And then marriage broke and I was burnt out in the sense of my mindset was no longer positive. I managed to reach my goals, which were business goals, but I had lost perspective. When I went to sleep at night, I could not stop thinking about what I have to do next, and the marketing plan and this and that and so on. So then I got divorced. I left the business and the money and the security behind, and started new. For the first time, I had no work. I went to Munich's unemployment office and said, "I have no work. I need work." And they said, "For people like you, we don't, we can't really." No, I said first. I said, "The way I tick right now, you can send me anywhere. This is not going to work out. I need a total reset." I said to the lady, some kind of training, I need to better myself, right? And she said, "Oh, for people like you, we don't have money to invest. You have languages, experiences, MBA, and so on." But then I was, in that moment, my faith was big because I had hit rock bottom. There's, I forgot one important detail. I also experienced an advanced cancer, a malignant melanoma at the same time. So that was about living and dying. It was not about doing the things right and doing the right thing and all this, It was about living or dying. It was a different perspective altogether. So I went to this lady and she said she has no money for people like me to invest. But then she went around her desk and came back with a sheet, and one name was crossed out, and that was my spot. And 3 days later, I was participating, sponsored by the Munich Unemployment Office, a seminar on mental power, coaching, presentation, mentoring, mediation, communication, all these things. And it was right around the corner, so I could manage to bring my kids to school in the morning and do my thing and pick them up in the night from the neighbors. And so it was like miraculous, the whole thing. It was really right around the corner because it's not easy as a single mom, right? And I thought I was doing this for me, so I would change my mind, which I did. But during this seminar, I had to give a talk, and I had never given a talk before. And it was the most horrible thing I could think of, giving a talk. Like, oh no, during studies, never ever, right? And I figured, if I don't give a talk right now, I'm not going to be happy with myself anymore. I have to change this right now. I'm going to say something. So I'm talking about something that's really, really important to me, which I want people to know because it's important. And then I made up my little talk, which I called Walking During Lunch Break. Pro, contra, and solution, let's say, for people to make up their own minds.
Yeah.
That's how it happened, because I had been using walking meditation during these times when I was diagnosed with this advanced cancer. Whenever the kids were with their dad on the weekend, I would go in the woods and walk and walk and walk and walk until I was empty and at peace. I needed that. So I made this my new profession, using walking as a baseline to help people connect with themselves, find peace, but also to coach them during the walks, and later on they can do it by themselves, walking meditation. So that's how I got into this job.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you had your challenges, right? But just by looking at your face as you're speaking, speaking about it, you can see the smile on your face now. You're not speaking about it like a joking situation. I mean, it was serious stuff you're going through. I mean, like with the cancer and stuff, it wasn't like small situations, but you can see how far you have come personally.
It was a big situation, but I still have those small thoughts in my mind today. They still come. However, I realize, and that helps. I like to call I call this like a torch, light.
Yes.
I call it torch of awareness. When I can always put my torch of awareness on to realize how big or small this really is.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, when you're in the situation, it's like, it's never ending, right? When you're in a sticky situation, it's like, the whole world's falling apart. And sometimes, just like a simple mindset change, as you said, like you do the walking meditations, etc. And movement, physical movement helps so much, because when you're stuck in a situation, just by like moving a little bit physically, and if you carry on moving, eventually everything starts shifting, right? From mental awareness, everything starts shifting, because you're almost stuck in that same spot. Uh, and over time, that's the thing. When you're in it, you don't really see the end of it. But when you're out of it, it's like, oh, it was like, why was like freaking out over such a situation? And that's what people also need to realize, that as they go through things, I mean, no matter how big the challenge they face, if you stick at it long enough, eventually you can overcome anything. Yeah, we also used to do something called conscious walking.
This experience once. Yes. Conscious walking.
Yeah, we used to do something called conscious. Well, we should do conscious walking.
And you can start observing everything. I use that word, the torch.
Yes.
Because it's easy to visualize, right?
Yeah.
You have a different perspective and you see the whole thing. And you can also observe your mind drifting away and bringing it back and all these things, or your emotions. One thought, one emotion, match.
Yeah.
So here's my power. How can I change this?
Yeah. Yeah, and people forget we're also human, right? And it's normal to go through ups and downs. And you summed it up perfectly. It's like, it's a torch, right? And that's what you need. That's how you need to look at stuff. And it's a practical way of looking at stuff, not these like, okay, what's wrong with my brain? Why I'm doing this, or why do people do this to me, etc. Yeah. So for people who don't know, like, what life coaching is, so like how would you describe a typical day in your shoes, basically, as a life coach? So what's a typical day as a life coach? Yeah.
I work on appointments just like a therapist or a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Or on appointments. So I work over the phone or in person if possible, which is much more, it's much nicer, because what I am coaching is a holistic approach. It's not just about changing your mind. It's also about changing your habits, especially what you do with it. That's a bit what it is about. But first you got to change the mindset. And so you have a 1 hour's appointment, and the first appointment would be checking out the status quo. Where are you right now? Oftentimes, when people are in a crisis, they are losing clarity, and everything is kind of cloudy. Yes. So the first appointment is usually finding out where you are, to figure out where you want to be and what is really important to you. And that would be a first appointment. And then we go step by step, usually something like 5-6 appointments. And it takes, depending on what people need, but it's they have to do their homework, which is walking exercise, observing their thoughts, observing the emotions, probably doing a journal, observing the way they eat, everything. It's kind of awareness training. And I'm the hippo mom who goes like this. Yeah. And I say, hey, this didn't work with the swim last time. And then I would say, interesting, tell me more. Because in the errors is where you most learn. And just by changing the attitude towards those errors, kind of being curious, how did I manage not to do this? You know? Then it's more, let's say, more playful, a more playful approach, or curiosity helps a lot to change, let's say, and also facing the fears. It's very helpful to face the fears. Everybody says you're not supposed to have fear. But the reality is fear is just an emotion like every other emotion too, right? So I would prefer to say, when you feel fear, check it out. What's going on? You know, instead of saying resisting it. That's the worst thing. Resisting is like holding on to it and getting stuck.
Yeah. Like in my short time of dealing with people, I also noticed that, a lot of people, we always think about the past, right? Even though we can't change it, we're like stuck in it, right? And then if we're not wasting our energy thinking about what happened in the past, we're thinking about what could happen in the future. And then we're wasting even more time. And we're not really focusing on what's happening right now. And then like a whole day will go by and just realize you're just basically freaking out the whole day. You never really accomplish anything because you're too stuck worrying about what happened, or if I only did this, or why I'm so like, why is this holding me back? Why it allowed this to happen to me? And then what could have happened if I never did that? But you don't actually do anything in the meantime. You're just like sitting there, contemplating. There's so much of stuff. And in your life, growing up or becoming up until you became a life coach, was there anyone specifically or that inspired you to say, okay, I'm gonna start influencing people?
I was inspired. Mistake there was already life coach, but when I was a young kid, I bumped into Deepak Chopra's book, Seven Spiritual Laws, or was it 5? I don't remember. Deepak Chopra and the audio biography of a yogi. It just happened, kind of thing. I was pretty much the only one in my city or so. But it just happened that I was interested in this other way of doing the things we do.
Yeah.
Then there was a guy from America called Stephen Covey. He wrote a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I never I follow Tony Robbins, and I think it's great what they do, but I don't like this whole popular, important thing, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like. I'm grateful to be around people who have their feet on the earth, and we can be on the same level.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. A lot of people, when they get to that certain, if you say popularity or status or level, they think like, okay, now I made it, and they forget the roots where they come from in a way. And sometimes like it actually changes, because they're trying to influence so much or trying to be so much better for others that they actually forget what actually made them who they were.
What influenced me as well is I've always been looking for. I've always been searching. There must be more. And I want to figure out how this works. Through my life, as a young kid, my father committed suicide when I was 6. So, but I didn't know. They told me a different story. And I remember as a kid, I always thought there's something wrong with me, because everybody else knew the truth and I could feel
something's wrong.
Something is different and I don't get it. So this is how I created the image about myself, what I thought about myself. And obviously today, this kind of thing helps me a lot in understanding other people. I have really, really looked deep into how we create those pictures of ourselves and why a simple protective lie can still harm, and mess up people. And I've been writing books about this because I think it's important for people to know. And a life coach, at the end, there's nothing new that we can teach or coach people. It's nothing new really, but it's the way. For some people just understand one approach better and others another. Let's say if ego is a nut, our job is to crack the nut and to so people can have access to their potential.
Yeah. And what do you think is your unique skill, or something that really defines you or makes you good at what you do, that helped you become successful in your life? As you mentioned, you wrote books, you worked in like various publishing housing firms, etc. You have a business background as well. It's not just your life coach. There's so much more to you. So what was your unique skill or gift, if you want to put it, that really pushed you or helped you along the way to becoming successful in your life?
an interesting question because I came to understand that every quality has two sides to it. Too much of one thing is not necessarily good, except
good
love.
thing.
You can't have too much love, right? But all these other things is all about balancing. I certainly have compassion, and I can understand people pretty quickly, and people trust me because they can feel I really mean it by the heart. You could say I'm a very harmless person. Some people call us naive. That's the other side.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's definitely the understanding, and obviously life experience helps. You know, having gone through, it's a difference if you think about what happens if you have a stage 4 cancer, and once you have the diagnosis in your hand, it's a different story, and they say next week might be too late. It's just a totally different story than what you imagine.
Yeah.
So when life experience certainly helps, divorce and the fear of losing the children, of not making enough money, of not being able, and all these things. So that, to me, I think it helps to understand people, and people can feel that, so they trust me. And where if there is no trust, it's very difficult to change something. I'm like a companion, you know, I'm on the same level. And when you don't have to hold back something because you're afraid that this person might judge you, then you can go ahead and make great changes.
Yeah.
You know?
No, what you're saying is 100%. You know, it's all a matter about perspective, right? How you see whatever you're facing. And I mean, a lot of people, you can give a lot of people the same image to look at, but a lot of people will look at it differently, right? You'll see it from a different perspective. And, you know, everyone goes through their own personal challenges, right, throughout their life. So you can't, you know, a lot of people think, you know, okay, I went through something worse than you, so you can't really compare. But technically, you know, all challenges are equally straining on the individual, because I mean, not everyone's the same, right? Not everyone has the ability to deal with certain situations like others. So what might be small to you might be the biggest thing in the world to someone else.
Yes, and there is always a one worst experience, no matter how big or small this experience is. You know, the scale is different, but that for that person, that was the worst experience.
Yes, yeah.
And there's no way to compare whether death of a father, sexual abuse, and things like this. That was a worst experience in a bad moment as a young kid. However, other people have their worst experiences, and they just feel as dramatic to them, you know, as something else to somebody else. And there's no way to, you don't compare. There's no comparison. Everybody has their own, every person is a universe.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And that's my passion. It's beautiful to get to know these different universes.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I mean, from my own personal view, I mean, I also lost my dad, you know, my dad when I was growing up. But, you know, like a lot of people, I remember it was during holiday time, so I went back to school, you know, a lot of people like, you know, are you okay, this and that. And I was always wondering, like, you know, like, why are people asking me the same question over and over again? Yes, I know something tragic happened, but now I mustn't go reform my whole life and let my whole life fall apart just because one event. And yes, I understand they're coming from a good place in terms of, you know, caring and asking questions because you genuinely care. But like, I always, like, you know, couldn't fathom, like, you know, like, why do people, like, you know, stick on something so much? It's like, because for me, it never bought, I mean, yes, it's obviously losing a parent's not the greatest thing, but like, I'm not gonna, like, I always thought, like, you know, but why? Like, you know, how about the people expect me to, like, you know, my whole life must fall apart now? Like, I'm gonna just forget everything else. And, you know, that's a lot of, like, a lot of situations people realize when something negative happens, whether it's losing a parent or anything else. The key is to stay on, right? And stay true to yourself. And I mean, life goes on, right? yes, time will probably fix the situation, but you can never really go back to normal. It's just about building from what you have or where you're from. And I think a lot of people, don't look at it that way. They think, okay, I lost this, now everything's over. Now I can't do anything anymore. Let me just, let me take the easy route and let me just, fall apart. And, that's what people don't realize, because it comes down to, like a single moment of change, right? Okay, I always looked at it personally that, I'll say, okay, I'll set myself a goal. That's like I'm giving myself like 3 or 4 months. Okay, I'm in 3 or 4 months I want to accomplish this or learn something new. But that moment when that shift actually happens is only like a second, right? It never yes, probably it happened after 3 or 4 months, but that change never occurred in 3 or 4 months. It occurred in a split second. And if we start focusing on that, like living in the actual moment of it, instead of one, like, having fear, okay, the goal's so far away. Every time you're running, let me look up to see how far I'm away. You actually might never get there, and because you're too worried about, okay, looking at where the goal is and not doing anything towards it. And, what you're saying is, 100%, yeah, 100%.
It's nice how you say that it doesn't happen in 3 or 4 months. It feels like all these things are like preparation time, but the actual hit is in the break kind of thing, right? The change happens when you go for a walk, for instance. When you take a break from things, this is when the big aha moment comes. And that's why meditation is so essential. And coming to the theme of today in terms of how to deal with change or how to adapt to change, I believe it's very, very important to see the whole picture. Change is the only constant in life. It's just very normal that it goes like this. If it goes like this, you probably left the body and the heart rate is no longer. So the perspective, changing the perspective is very important too. Like I said, I like this picture of the torch, looking from a lamp from a different perspective and see the whole thing. You see yourself, you see the others, and also look deep inside, like your thoughts, the quality of your emotions, your physical body. For instance, when I walk with people, I do prefer to do first a personal session outdoors in nature, in a neutral environment, because that's grounding and it's just way opening outdoors in nature. And when people tell their stories, for me, it's very interesting to see what they tell you first and what they tell you next and so on. And I also have learned over the 20 years that I'm doing this now to see tensions in the body, the way people breathe, the way their eyes move. I used to work with a heart rate, a pulse device. You have a watch and you can measure the pulse, the heart rate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You put it down. Yes. So I used to do this, and it was so interesting to see how the heart rate changes according to the topic we are talking about. And that is already a very sweet proof that everything is connected. Even your heart rate goes up when you talk about something exciting or dangerous or something. So, and I I help people to open up to this holistic approach. We have a body, we have thoughts, and we have emotions. And the deal is learning how to use all this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And in terms of change, the first thing what I feel is the most to start out with is to understand how the mind works first.
Yes.
The mind is not set up for change as such. Let's say the mind is, you probably know that, but I'm going to still tell it to other listeners because that's important. That's really important. Just be okay with that nature has provided us with a mind that feels comfortable in what we call a comfort zone.
Yes.
And if this thing is stiff and tight and doesn't change, then the mind thinks, I'm safe.
Yes.
This is good. However, that means more or less there is no evolution happening, and you're probably going backwards because you're not learning and not growing and not expanding. So it's illusionary to believe you would be safe in the comfort zone.
No, 100%. You have to be pushed, right, to grow, right? That's why, like, when you grow up, I mean, just take when you go to, like, after school, you go to universities, etc. I mean, things like that, it just gets harder, right? But you somehow manage to go along with it, right? And that's what life is. It's a challenge, right? If you're not pushed, you're never going to grow.
Yeah, well, that again is let's say in life coaching, there are some coaches that push. For instance, I knew a golf coach.
Yeah.
I thought, that's impossible. How can he do this? He used to put people down, and they were so scared of him that they actually played better. I didn't approach. I thought this is disrespectful and so on, and working with fear basically.
Yeah.
Like, wow, he was rude as can be. I was shocked really. But so this is a push method. I prefer a pull method, and it's not me pulling, but I want to inspire people to find what is triggering them and pulling them to get out of their little mouse wheel and dare to step out and look over the fence what else there is,
Yeah. I mean, the training thing you spoke about, I mean, yes, everyone has their own methods, right? A lot, like you said, you instead of pushing, you prefer to pull, and a lot of people, have this training, this military way, right? Like, shouting at the person is instead of it's not demoralizing them, but like, making them, okay, no, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be what he's telling me I am. I'm going to prove him wrong. And but the thing is, it works for some people and it doesn't. And I like what you said. You have to. It's important to first figure out the mind or the mindset of the person, because everyone's different. And I think you did speak about it a few minutes ago, talking about, you need to work on the mind, understand it, because it's a complex mechanism. It's something that it'll never truly, fully be figured out in terms of what we know. We just have to obviously explore as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, I like to work with curiosity, for instance.
Yes.
It's very sweet when people become so curious that they want to figure out what an alternative to what they are used to do, because they think they can't do any different. They've always been doing it like this. When they become more curious than fearful, or more curious than lazy.
Yes.
That's a bit, to use this natural curiosity. First, let's say my job is to provide a safe space where they can feel safe to experiment something new. And sometimes it comes down to eating habits, or any kind of stress habits. Like some people drink a lot of coffee or have like mini addictions in that sense. And just changing these things in a playful way. Or for instance, working on discipline and consistency. So we make a plan, and then we really check out what happened. How did you manage not to do it?
Yeah.
Interesting, And also, let's say, sell the idea that if we're looking at this so consciously, and we have it all clear, then it's super, super, super interesting to figure out what has happened, because there is the little hook that we want to get out and look at it from all sides.
Yes.
That thing which triggers you. And this is what wants to be released.
100%. As you said, looking at, find out what triggers people, because from an individual point of view, I might think, okay, I have the whole world figured out in my head, but yes, stuff is going wrong. But
I'm sorry, is it you in your head? What?
I'm saying, like when you seeing people, right? I mean, or someone, uh, a lot of people today think, okay, I already have my whole life figured out, right? Or everything in my head's perfect, but yet everything is like completely haywire and all over the place. But from your perspective, everything is okay, because we grow up with this mindset that we need to plan everything. I need to go to school. I must go to university. I'll never be successful. I must eventually find someone, get married, have kids, and basically work till I die. And then maybe when you're like 60, you think, oh, what have I actually done in my life? And we grow up, or I mean, that's just one example. I mean, obviously, everyone has their own mindset about things can be, but we never see it from the outside. And sometimes you need someone from the outside to tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong. It's not actually what you're seeing. Yeah.
Well, today I almost feel nothing is really wrong. That's how I feel today,
Okay.
because it's at least a learning experience.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you don't really fail at stuff, right? It's just an experience. Okay, you did something wrong. Now try a different way. It's not final, right? You have the opportunity to change things, but obviously it's all within your power and how you want to go about it. And since no, continue.
It's very much about self-empowerment.
Yes.
There was just a noise there.
No, nothing, nothing from my end. Yeah.
I heard something on the computer, so maybe it was on my computer.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? But I mean, self-empowerment is very important because, you know, you someone can only do something when they're ready for it, right? You can tell someone 1,000 times over, the same thing, but they will never do it until they're ready for it. Up until the point, they come, okay, I actually want to do it. And it's like it's a give and take situation in a way. So since you started like doing life coaching, and obviously you've helped a lot of people uh, with your programs, what do you enjoy about it most? What do you get out of it? That after a session, or after you see someone who came from such a difficult situation and now everything is like flowing so beautifully and amazing. What do you get out of it, or what do you love about being a life coach the most?
Let's say somebody once said, do you really want to hang out with people who are in a bad mood for the rest of your life? I'm saying, no, not really, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
I just have to do it. It's my job. I need to do it, because if I can see the spark in this person, it's my job to help them see it themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what is it? Sometimes you always have to respect where the person is. You can't. I do not push. I believe I need to be respectful. But what do I get out of it? Well, if they don't come back, it worked. That's sweet.
Yeah. And how will you describe, your teaching philosophy? Yes, I know you spoke about, you don't like to push people, but how would you describe that, your life coaching philosophy is different from the general like life coach practitioner? Like, how do you differentiate yourself in terms of how you perceive or teach people, basically?
I use a lot of metaphors.
Yes.
Let's say my approach is pretty creative. It's pretty holistic. I mean, people come, for instance, burnt out, or just after a difficult situation at work.
Yes.
Or sometimes they have jobs in a company where the team can't work together. And we're basically working on prejudice. You wouldn't believe what can the scenarios in people's minds. Sometimes it's really shocking, but the harder it is, let's say, the bigger the. That's when I become creative. For instance, 2 years ago, I was in Austria in a big firm, and it was really, really challenging. There was, everybody talked behind people's backs, and they talked in an ugly way. I was shocked. And so my approach was to work with each individual privately first, and then together as a team. And when we work as a team, I don't tell them what to do. We make games, or we make up games, or I have them make up a game. Let's say a very, very creative way. And right from the beginning, I'm not the one who tells them what to do. I'm the one to make them curious, to figure out a different way, and to change perspective, see a different perspective. So I would say my approach is very holistic, because we work with the mind, feelings, and the body, and very creative. I'm very creative by asking questions or making up metaphors, which they just drop down in the right moment from somewhere. uh-huh. And yeah, and people enjoy that, because it's always a surprise, and surprises are very vivid. When you're in a stuck situation, you feel there is no way out, and you're hopeless. Yes, you feel like no way out, and then comes a surprise. Yes, there is. It's like opening little windows, and that's my job. And like I said, my job's more, my personal approach is very creative, usually even a little bit fun, and holistic.
Yeah. And is there any like specific programs that you offer? I know obviously you deal with businesses and individuals. Do you offer like, like seminar type programs for coaching, or it's just all these private sessions?
Interestingly enough, now in October, a former client of mine, she is a nutritionist. And I had thought about this, offering this since quite some time, but I always figure, if somebody asked me, I will do it. And before I don't. So she asked me. So now in October, we're going to be doing a Train the Trainer program for 6 months. On the phone, 1 appointment per week. And this is for people who work with other people to learn to use the coaching approach, to help people get to their own power easily. And it's basically overcoming own limitations. How can you, let's say your specialty is, for instance, nutritionist, or maybe stress management, or consultant in a business, and you work with people. So we're going to be training how to better coach people. So the first part of this 6 months is 3 months personal work. If you figure out how to get to know yourself better, that's a great point to start to help others do the same.
Yes.
And that's what it is about. You getting to know yourself better. When you get to know yourself better, then you know which button to push in such a situation, instead of having other people push your buttons.
No, 100%. And especially in today's world, like, we're so caught up with social media, with so many like different outside influences, and we don't actually spend time with ourselves. We're always stuck or focusing on someone else's life and watching stuff. And, like what you said earlier, that, you like to take people, outside to nature and stuff. And it's a big difference, right? From sitting in an office with 4 walls around you to being outside, because when you're outside, when you're walking through the park or forest, there's no restrictions on anything, right? Everything's just free flowing. The birds or animals are doing what they want. The trees are blowing in, the leaves, everything's doing their own thing. There's no like man-made structure, if you want to call it, that tries to keep everything, in a certain, flowing in a certain way. And it makes a major difference. You feel different, right? From walking in a house or walking in a building to walking like in a mountain or something. It's just a matter of being outside and in a place, environment that's technically free. It has a different mindset.
Nature helps a lot. And still, when somebody is in a bad place in their minds, they need somebody to help them see and help them smell, and help them experience what is. Because the real problem is that we are stuck in our minds, and this little movie is going round and round and round, which is the problem, or the problems. Yes, and that's the work, changing mindset, which brings me to the topic, how to deal with change. So first of all, we need to understand how our mind works, and use our minds and not be enslaved by our mental habits. So a mental habit by nature is survival. But nowadays, we humans are expanding and growing, and we are intelligent, and we are compassionate, and we are aware. So this is a real nice, sweet benefit by nature. And we want to use this instead of being driven by an animalistic mind from former times or something, right? Using our mind in a positive way instead of being used by our mental habits.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. So by understanding that your mind is not set up for change, it feels uncomfortable. But what you can do is, if you're aware of this mechanism, you can grow beyond it and become, for instance, more curious, start experimenting, doing different things. So understanding this helps a lot, because then you know, no, I'm not a prisoner of my mind. I'm just used to this kind of thinking. That's all.
Yes.
Yes. It's the awareness.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is what you can do in times of change. When I was experiencing burnout and divorce and cancer all at the same time, I remember I had to pull every remedy, and I was walking, and I figured that this is kind of my last chance. You better keep going and check out how to do something differently now, because I had small children, and dying was not an option to leave my kids, you know. So I would still today do the same thing, which I still do. I don't need anymore a big disaster in order to do what's good for me. All these little habits, they make a huge difference. And there's tons of little habits. You don't have to do them all. It doesn't have to be like a sterile lifestyle of eating only whatever, you know, so super healthy and all this. No, but it can be natural and simple, simplicity, for instance. So just drinking more water during the day, drinking the water more consciously, being aware that the water is, you are water in the body. There's 100,000 little things one can do differently. Getting up early in the morning, that's huge. Because this time in the morning, that's when you really can change, because this is when the torch works best, that I've been referring to. There you can be really aware, because you're not distracted by all these lights outside, yes?
Yes, yeah.
Huh? And then any kind of healthy habits, for instance, locked down. Now we can go outside again. Take advantage, be grateful that we can walk outdoors, do deep breathing exercise, all these little things. And the main thing for me is definitely some kind of a meditation ritual, which is you are learning how to ride your mind, kind of thing. Yes?
Yes.
In meditation, instead of running behind this monkey going all over the place. Yeah, so this is huge. And but when people are in a bad place, let's say, have lost, are stuck in deep fears, or have lost their job, no income, in a place of negativity, meditation is not the easiest thing to do, obviously.
Yeah.
But for those people, I definitely suggest experimenting with walking meditation. And if it's just about learning to put your attention during first 1 minute, then 2 minutes, and then 5 minutes, putting your attention, for instance, as you walk, on your breath. And if this is already too much, you can just observe the colors of nature. Just one thing to calm this frequency down, and to get this very much helps to be here now and not stuck in the fear mode. I think the most dangerous thing is when we get stuck in a fear mode and in a mode of negativity without realizing.
Yes, and you emphasize a lot of walking meditation or meditation in general, and sometimes it's not necessarily the best. That's why you say maybe sometimes walking meditation, because and you spoke about the breath, etc. And as you said earlier, it's when you're stressed out or freaking out, you have deep breaths, right? When you're relaxed, obviously your breath is much calmer and smoother. So you can link your emotions to your breath, and just by learning how to control your breath, you can maybe control how you react or how you feel. It's just like literally it's like getting to know yourself, right? Not mentally also, but also physically. Like okay, maybe I just need to calm down, take a step back, just take a deep breath in, and it makes a whole world of difference. And I know when I used to always use this thing. So whenever we're going through something bad, right? Even when we're not thinking about it, we're like closing our eyes, but we're still thinking about it, right? It's like it's never ending. It's like a loop in our head. Like when you experience something bad, it's like always playing over and over and over. And I just always think like why can't we reprogram our mind in a way? Because obviously our mind is doing this to ourselves, right? So why can't we? Because end of the day, detach from the negative thing, but just look at the mechanism. It's playing the same thing over and over again. So I should do something. I should write something positive every day, and I should write the exact same thing over and over and over again every single day. And eventually, even when I wasn't thinking about it, I was thinking about it. Just that I took the negative thing to make it the positive thing. And it's just literally the small things, understanding how your mind works. It just, if you do something over and over again, it just take, instead of doing something negative or reliving a negative moment, try to convert into something positive. So whatever whatever obviously fits you, whatever fits you or suits you. So I used to like take a journal and write the same sentence, or a positive one obviously, over and over again. And eventually I got to a point when even when I wasn't thinking about it, it was like I'm thinking about it, to just change that mindset. And I remember before I should go to bed, I was like, oh no, but I haven't written what I was supposed to. And I'll be like sitting on the day, but yeah, that's like, it eventually becomes part of you. So it's like, it's like reprogramming your mind to work for you than against you. But yeah.
Exactly what I'm teaching, really.
Yeah.
Reprogram your mind to work for yourself and others instead of against.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And even what we call negative,
yes,
it's just a different color, let's say, which we can use to realize, hey, we got potential here.
Yeah.
If something is not very fluid, there is a potential to better it. That's a beautiful job to do.
Yes.
And in terms of feelings, you can change your feelings too without lying towards yourself.
Yeah.
And the way to do this is definitely to feel first. Yes, feel what you really feel and realize how did you get to this feeling instead of resisting the feeling. You need to feel it first and feel the whole intensity of the feeling. And if you allow this feeling the space it has, then it can be processed in the body. You might feel tension and fears or whatever. I write a lot about such things on my blog, thewalkingguru.org, because it's so important. So if anybody's interested in that, they can find it on the blog.
We'll put your website link, thewalkingguru.org, attached to the video when we publish here. So,
Okay.
is any other platforms that people can, if you want to get in contact with you, or how they can reach you on, apart from your website, like other social media outlets, so forth?
Uh-huh. Yeah, this because I work a lot with people who are slightly depressed, not in a deep depression, but on the edge. And it's very important to use this situation to learn how to deal with things. Because when you're in a, let's say, a negative mood over a long period of time, life becomes, you're losing gratitude, you're losing vision, you're losing a positive outlook. It's not a nice perspective, and it's important to change that. And these moments have huge potential, because this is when we suffer. That's how we realize we got to change something. Correct? Yeah, we got to change something. That's what it's for. But the pain, let's say, pain by nature, changing this perspective, pain is useful by nature. The pain shows you time to change something.
Yeah.
Don't hit the hot oven twice. It's enough to hit it once. If you've never hit it, you just know something is not right hitting that oven, but you don't never really know, right? And it's all about, it starts all with a positive outlook, faith in the process of nature. I like the expression, God for me is the magic behind nature. Yes, the magic behind nature nobody really knows. And God is a very difficult word. Some people believe in this religion, others believe in no religion, or practice this, and others practice that. For me, I believe the magic behind nature nobody can deny, and nobody really knows how it works, but we do know that it works.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And having this deep trust and faith in this process is a very, very healthy attitude towards life, and also in your own abilities to change, because everybody got it all.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is full and complete.
Yeah, 100%. And, I like what you said, emotions are such an important thing, right? That's what makes us human, right? And feeling everything, or feeling, okay, this is good for me, this is not so good for me. It's so important to get a grasp of that, of your emotions, in a sense, because it's such a powerful mechanism that defines who you are. And whether it's compassion, etc., but it's something that people need to realize, and not don't think like, okay, if I show no emotion, it means I'm strong, or I'm strong-minded and everything's okay. Sometimes you have to show emotion to realize that you actually are human, and that's what makes you human in a way. Yeah. So we're coming. You wanna like to add anything?
Well, this whole emotional issue is very important. I think it's important to realize that we have learned to become numb, and it's not helpful to be numb. It's not helpful.
Yeah.
So dare to feel, which doesn't mean that there's a huge difference between reacting and responding.
Yeah.
Feeling something and then using your mind as well before you say something or respond to something, or maybe even take a break and go for a walk before you respond to a situation. But appreciating everything there is first, like the emotion that there is first, and with awareness, with a torch of awareness, that's key. The last thing I would like to say is, during these times where many people are desperate and have no vision and no they believe they have no future and all this, I want to remind people that in such a moment, this is when most positive things can happen as well, because we are thrown out of the mouse wheel of repeating yesterday's story through this current situation. And right now, it's very important to set priorities and start out with asking those principal questions in the first place. What do I really want? And especially, what do I really need? And how can I contribute with what I have? And those basic questions, to focus on what's really important and not be overthrown. Like I said before, for me, a new little niche has come up, that I'm now doing the trainer seminars online. I didn't plan that. It just happened now. You could say by accident, but it's a very sweet moment, for things to happen. And attitude and having an open heart and an open mind is the most important thing.
Yes, 100%. So, we're actually coming to the end of our show now, or interview. So is obviously given current times, is there any advice you have for people who are going through a hard time or trying to, people are trying to like figure out stuff, but not really they're not really getting there. What advice will you offer people in these times, to push through, or if they're finding anything difficult? Obviously, given the world is changing right now, and the world is going through something that's literally breaking all our concepts of how things should be.
One little advice I would give is go step by step, one little change at a time. And if it's just walking around the block consciously once a day for 5 minutes, or in nature, but make this a habit. Learn how your mind works by introducing one little habit. Yes. People who are in the Earlybirdsclub, they manage to get up early in the morning. They can do anything. Yes. If you're not there yet, start with 5 minutes, just getting out of the door every day and breathing consciously, or watching your body posture. Because this gives you the confidence that you too can change. And work on yourself instead of trying to change the world outside. The way you vibrate inside is the way you vibrate outside, and the impact you have in the world. So my advice would be, start with something small, such as walking around the block, or walking for ideally every day half an hour. That can be a wonderful meditation and wonderful for the body too.
Yes.
Use this as your positive time, where you can allow yourself to leave the problem on the side and pick it up when you get home.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum things up here. So, thank you for joining us today and taking some time out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to, take a lot away from this. I know I have personally, seeing your perspective, obviously your life story, and how we can use certain things to our own benefit, or use ourselves to our own benefit, right? So yeah, thank you so much. It's been an honor to interview you, actually, and it was such a pleasure. And you can see, when people, as you said earlier, it's about, being genuine in what you do, and you can see it. I can see it, certainly I can see it on your face. You're not just doing it because you want, it's like, okay, I'm doing it because I have nothing else to do. You're doing it because you want to do it. And like you said earlier, like how people said, oh, why do you want to spend your whole day working with depressed people? And like you said, mentioned, no, it's a change, right? So you can see it. So for everyone else out there who watches this, do what you love. It's so important. As you can see on Manuela's face, how happy she is. I'm just speaking about what she does. So thank you so much for joining us and giving us the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.